In today's day and age, voting has almost become an extinct art in the life of teenagers. Voting actuality is one of the most essential acts of Americanism that one can portray in today. Our elders are outshining us and voting by a landslide, and it's time to make a change. Here are my main points. 1. Teens don't understand the importance of voting. 2. Voting should be taught in the education system. And 3. Voting will enhance our society. My credibility will be coming from my experience with my peers and the lack of knowledge I have provided when it comes to voting. School only really focuses on the history of voting and the importance of it back then, but not how major it is today. The main reason teens are not voting is because they don't really understand how impactful a single vote really can be. According to the article, Why is Voting Important? Your vote may not directly affect the president, but your vote joins enough others in your voting district or county. Your vote undoubtedly matters when it comes to electoral results. The article then goes on to mention the nail-biting presidential race between Al Gore and George W. Bush in 2000. According to the same article, the election came down to a recount in Florida, where Bush had won the popular vote by such small margin that it triggered an automatic recount in the Supreme Court case, Bush versus Gore, insinuating that votes really come down to the wire. With a more recent note, the article went on to mention the close race between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in 2016, elaborating on how even though Hillary was up 3 million votes, Trump's voters in key districts in swing states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan had helped seal enough electoral votes to win the presidency, showing that even though your direct vote may not directly elect the president, a persistent voting presence in key states can ultimately overtake an election. By teenagers not being familiar with the voting process, natural barriers begin to develop, causing a rift between teens and voters. These barriers discourage teens from attempting to even send in their voting ballots. According to Stansky, Anna, the article, should teens be allowed to vote? There's a big election this month. Should teens be allowed to vote in it? According to another article by Stansky, voting from the first or the second time may also be harder than voting in subsequent elections. There is a district opportunity cost for young adults who may not have less flexible employment schedules or less financial cushion to take time off to vote, or who may be in temporary housing situations where they lack deep community ties. I also found that in the same article that voting is a habit. You have to build up in order to become consistent in it. As stated, voting is the habit formed over time. One possible reason young people do it less frequently is because they have few opportunities to form and enforce the habit. With time, people slowly turn from habitual non-voters to habitual voters. I believe that the solution to the problem can be solved in our education system. Our schools are the prime sources of information that we obtain as growing young adults. If schools develop a class strictly encouraging and educating teenagers about voting, more of them will take the initiative to actually go out and do it. According to the article, how and for whom does education increase voting? Research in higher education. Education is one of the most consistent and strongest correlations of voting. Many studies find positive causal effects of education on political participation. Now imagine if political courses were taught early on in our schools today. An increase in teenage voting would only be inevitable. The more teens are familiar with voting, the more likely they are to participate in activities. This is why introducing them to the political system and showing them how to properly use their voices is essential to their development. I also believe that once a teen votes for the first time, a reward system filled with support and praise should come to them. Being congratulated can cause them to feel like they are doing the right thing, ultimately making them come back again and again. According to Lewis, Robert, reward system in health and disease advances experimental in medicine and biology. At its core, reward system determines the balance of stimulations and signals, whether it is to be avoided or approached, as well as assigning a priority of one stimulus over another. Also in the same text, it says, when exposed to a stimulus that is rewarding, the brain responds by releasing an increased amount of dopamine, the main neurotransmitter associated with rewards or pleasure, causing us to want that more of that good feeling. Allowing teenagers to vote can significantly enhance a society by bringing fresh perspective and diverse ideas and great representation of the concerns. Youth inclusions allowing teens the right to vote and ensures that voices are heard, often more in shaping and creating policies that directly affect their futures. Early civic engagements allow the teens to vote with a sense of responsibility and engage in a democratic process for a young age. This fosters the culture of the active citizenship and political participation. This strengthens the foundation of democracy. In conclusion, I have gave you the reasons I believe teens should vote more and make a stand.